Welcome back to the marketing course. In this module, we're going to be diving into co-branded influence. The majority of marketers believe that their marketing resonates as authentic. However, over half of consumers don't believe that any ads they see are authentic. Clearly, there's a huge disconnect here. So what's filling that gap? User-generated content, also known as UGC. UGC can be defined as content created by real people who have actually tried the products or services. 92% of consumers trust UGC more than traditional ads. Now, brands like yourself can leverage this by leveraging the megatrend of co-creation. This is a megatrend we're seeing on trendhunter.com, where brands can actually take user content and make it part of their own branding. GoPro has always been a champion of their consumers. In fact, in this most recent ad, they feature over 50 examples of user-generated content, mostly selfie videos. Now, speaking of selfies, Glasses USA also leverages consumer selfies and posts them on their website, so you can see what real people look like in their glasses. Co-creation particularly appeals to Gen Z because they want to seek active engagement from brands, especially in growth markets. Half of them want to submit product ideas, and almost half want to participate in gamified campaigns. This can be as simple as having consumers vote for their favorite product SKU, as M&M often does with different M&M flavors. It can even get a bit more complex. Mossman is an Australian swimwear brand that has long been trying to tap into that elusive Gen Z market. One day they partnered up with Unidays to come up with a competition for fans of the brand to submit their own designs for a chance to get featured in their next line. Now, because this campaign championed the consumer, it saw 1,000% more entries than any other campaign they had run in the past. It garnered upwards of 7,000 views to the website in just 3 weeks, and it saw a ton of traction on Instagram as people shared it on their personal accounts. This is important because people share content from personal accounts up to 24 times more than they do from branded accounts. To prove this point, I want you to think about the CEOs of BMW, Audi, and Mercedes. Now, unless you're a car aficionado, you probably can't name who they are. But maybe you can name the CEO of Tesla. That's right, it's Elon Musk. Now, you don't need to be a car aficionado to know who that is, even though Tesla is considerably a newer brand. It might surprise you to learn that this past year, the Tesla Model 3 was the best-selling premium sedan in Europe, outselling those other fancy brands, including BMW, Audi, and Mercedes. Clearly, it's important for brands to have some sort of ambassador. Now, it's not someone that everybody's going to love, but those who do like them a lot. When it comes to brands like yourselves finding your own ambassador, yes, you'll want to consider price and return on investment, but to truly resonate with today's consumers, you'll also want to consider authenticity. For starters, we have our typical celebrity influencers. And while they may have a high return on investment, they're not considered very authentic by today's consumer standards. Next up, we have your macro influencers and your micro influencers. This is where brands tend to lean the most these days. But let's not discount our neighbor Bob. I know for a fact that he's not sponsored by any brand, so I'm a lot more likely to trust any product recommendations he gives me. But of course, there's definitely little return, and he doesn't have a lot of reach when it comes to the consumer population. There is a gap here, a sweet spot that a lot of brands are overlooking. This is also known as the mid-tier influencer. Mid-tier influencers have between 50,000 to 500,000 followers, so they're still relatively unknown. But they do have engagement levels to match, so you know they're not buying their followers. And they have a much further reach than micro-influencers who might barely break even. Also, expect to generate tons of conversation when you leverage a mid-tier influencer, because the best part about them is that they still have that authentic appeal. In fact, 40% of millennials say that their favorite influencer understands them better than their friends. So when it comes to creating the future of co-branded influence, you'll definitely want to leverage user-generated content, co-creation, and mid-tier influencers. And that final piece here is diversity. Now, diversity has come a long way over the past few years, and we can no longer afford to put inclusivity on the back burner. According to Eric Toda, everybody should feel represented, and that goes beyond even one skin tone. So that wraps up our first module on co-creation. The main takeaway here is that consumers want to see themselves in your branding. Some questions to think about when applying co-creation. Are influencers right for your brand? And how can you highlight the consumer rather than another influencer in your marketing?